Hey all, and welcome back to the finale of the HSC playthrough of Knuckles Chaotix. Yeah, look at that fucking swagger. I love skinny Vector. I don't mind buff Vector, but something about this character and just how goofy he looks, it like so sincerely goofy, just makes him very endearing.
It is, especially when he's running, when he's doing like the figure eight run sort of thing that like Sonic characters do, and he's smiling at the camera. I fucking love that sprite.
The exaggerated swagger of an anthropomorphic crocodile.
God.
What? He likes his tunes, man. What can I say?
Yeah, but this could get quite awkward given his partner with Knuckles here as well.
HXC, word. Anyway, on to one of my favourite levels of the game, or at least one of my favourite bits of music in the game. Marina Madness. It just makes me want to sit by a lake and have an orange juice of an evening, so it does.
Yes, this is one of my favourite pieces of music in the game, as I said. This actually sounds like it could easily be Outrun music, and that is one hell of a compliment.
You know what? Yes, actually. If you sped it up by like 0.2 or so, just to make it a teens bit faster, you wouldn't like blink or I don't know, rub wax out of your ears twice to think it was a piece of Outrun music. But Richie, how's your time with Chaotix been so far? Do you have any pangs of regret for not playing the game growing up? What's your take as an outsider to the sort of thing?
So definitely no pangs of regret at not having played it. Not that it doesn't look like it's a at least decent game. I think, its quirks just don't look necessarily the funnest thing to handle. And considering, my lack of history with 2D Sonic titles, I'm not really too fussed about whether I did play it or not. But I'm glad that I have now sort of obviously seen it in its entirety to know sort of exactly how it works. And I'm sorry, but that model for Vector looks absolutely ridiculous. He looks like some sort of weird train demon thing.
I was going to say, it does look like he has wheels there.
I was going to say he kind of looks like a penis, but to each of their own.
Not all of us have penis on the mind all the time, Tom, just saying.
No, stop projecting, Jesus.
That should have hit me, but it didn't somehow.
Well, what do you like? So now that we're near the end of these special stages, Flame, how would you rate them overall in the franchise? This is probably a top 5 type of design for me.
It's definitely up there for me. I'll say that I've said this before, but I've never been too keen on the whole special stage setup in general, but this is definitely one of the least offensive ones to me, especially given it's one of the more player-friendly ones, because there's a couple of things that sort of affect how easy this will be for you. One is that the amount of rings you get, so your timer basically, is influenced by how many rings you get in the level.
Right.
So if you're careful in the level, then you can go in with a lot of rings and it makes it a lot easier. And there's also the fact that if you miss some of the blue spheres on your first go through, then it does let you just keep on playing and try again. It doesn't immediately fail you like say Sonic 2 does. So, as long as you've come in with enough rings, then you'll be fine with that. Obviously, you want to make sure you don't get hit by the spike balls, because then that'll reduce your timer a lot.
Of course,
but, the biggest threat to you in these later special stages is more so the pits than missing rings or missing two spheres. But this one, I do remember this being very close, and I think you might appreciate what I mean by that.
Jesus. Yeah, I definitely have, very vague memories of this special stage round in particular, because, it's asking a lot of the players, instead of just, going forward. There's a lot of, sideways gameplay here as well.
There is, and there's a lot of utilising the things that bounce you back as well, which is the sort of thing that if you've played other special stages you might not necessarily think of, because if you compare this to say the half pipe in Sonic 2, it's just keep going. You got the blue spheres in 3 and K, which, you know, like, there are things that bounce you back, but more often than not, they'll just throw you into a red sphere and fuck you up. So you sort of train yourself to avoid them. You know, like, it's a very different way of thinking here, but look at this!
Oh my god! You jammy bastard.
Yeah, and the reason why that was so close was because I went out of my way to get like 5 more than I needed as well, just because I thought like I got greedy.
There you go. There's all the chaos rings. You did it.
I did it indeed. So what they do is that, unlike say 3 and K where you get superpowers, unfortunately there isn't like a super vector you can play as here, which would have been cool.
Oh.
But it's basically just what gets you the good ending of the game. And when I say good ending, I don't mean good ending as in it's an enjoyable ending. I mean it's the one as in the world doesn't get fucked up completely.
Honestly, the bad ending is like more interesting overall.
Oh, by miles. We will be showing that off in the extra video because I couldn't not really, you know?
Yeah, we got a bunch of stuff to show you there, guys. Not the longest video in the world, but there are some interesting like things about Chaotix's development, so look forward to that tomorrow.
Nice.
This level, I will say, I love the music, but it is one where you start to realise how much the thing can like throw you all over the place, because this time you have the environment moving as well as you. So, like, there are a few like spots in the level where you can get on the boat and have that move along, and so I don't know whether you can get to the finish without doing that or not, but there are a few spots where I just get on the little patch like that thing there, and that just moves you to the next part of the level. You can probably fire yourself up, but I couldn't be asked to test it, honestly.
Well, you know, I'm not asking for perfection here, but if you can't even do such a thing as hitting a boat button, then why bother?
It's fine, I'll just ram it with another boat.
Ram it with Vector's face.
This is great, because like, this is the sort of thing that if someone's coming back to this playthrough in a couple of years, they will have no idea what I'm getting at.
Yeah, seriously. Well, I mean, Chaotix kind of like defies any viewer. Basically what it does is it holds itself, you know, out to the public and says, judge me. Can you do it? I don't think you can. Which is why it got low review scores, because reviewers were so fucking befuddled by how good the game is that they just lowered it out of spite, really.
No, it was a typo. Those 1 out of 10s were meant to be 10 out of 10s, I'm sure.
Oh, Jesus. Actually, I'm curious. What is the Metacritic for Knuckles Chaotix?
I'm gonna guess probably quite low, probably a red at least. You know, like at most even.
Knuckles Chaotix. Nada. There is not a page for it.
So, in terms of the Wikipedia reception bit, it says mixed reviews and failed commercially, as did 32X.
Damn.
So, 1up.com gave it a B. All Game gave it 2 stars out of 5.
Yeah, well, I haven't heard of them, so.
EGM, which is Electric Gaming Monthly, gave
Electronic Game Monthly, yeah.
Gave it a 7.4 out of 10. Famitsu gave it a 25 out of 40. Game Fan, whoever they were, clearly massive fans because they gave it 98 out of 100.
Bloody hell.
GamePro gave it 2 out of 5, IGN gave it 6 out of 10, Next Generation 2 out of 5, Game Players 41%, and Mean Machine Sega gave it 84 out of 100.
Ah, the Sega bonus in action there. But Flame, without going into specifics, because obviously we have another part to go over the extras and give our final thoughts on the game, if you had to assign a numerical score out of 10 to Chaotix, what would you go with? I think I might be able to guess, and it might even be the same as mine.
See, I struggle to give number scores in general, but this one would be really difficult to rate in a way, because it's a difficult one to pin down, because everything I like about this can easily be put off as superficial. You know, what I mainly like about this is the presentation. It's got a very unique art style, it's got great music, and I like the new characters that were brought in. But the biggest problem is the central fucking mechanic. You know, like, so it's like, if I'm going in my heart of like, you know, appreciating the artistry of it, then it's gonna be like a higher end. But if I'm talking practically in terms of a game, like should somebody buy it, yes, no, then I would say like nah. You know, like you're probably not gonna get much from this.
Okay, so hand on heart, number out of 10.
Straight down the middle, give it a 5.
I would give it a 6. I think there is stuff to like here, and even though the main conceit doesn't really lend itself to, you know, well thought out level design and whatnot, I feel like it's got a lot of charm, and I'd probably give it a 6 as a result. If you were to ask me what is my guilty pleasure Sonic game, it wouldn't be Secret Rings, because I actually like Secret Rings in spite of its many flaws.
Good.
It would be 3D Blast, because even though it's isometric, I still feel there's enough good going on there to be, you know, decently reviewed and whatnot. But this does have a lot of stuff that you're not really missing out on by not playing it, because, you know, the Chaotix come back in later games like Heroes and so on, so if you want to play the Chaotix so badly, you can just go play Heroes. But this is like, if someone asked me what are you playing and I said Knuckles Chaotix, they'd probably like, they wouldn't really judge me for it, but they wouldn't be enthusiastic to talk about it either, and that's what I feel justifies the marking or title of a guilty pleasure.
The way I kind of see this now is I feel like my positive impressions of it are the context in which I'm playing it, in the fact that I went into it knowing all the caveats. I knew which parts would annoy me, and that is a very different context to if you've just played the other classic Sonic games and you go into this and it's like, oh, the momentum stuff I enjoyed from, say, Sonic 2 doesn't work how it worked in Sonic 2. Now I've got this character just holding me back, and I've got to work around him, and he's a liability for me. You know, I feel I would be a lot harsh on it in that context, and that kind of happens with a lot of Sonic games to me, and even like the 3D ones, like I absolutely fucking despised Lost World when it first came out, and then over time I kind of came like, it's not great, but it's
You warmed up to it, essentially.
Well, I'd say less warmed up, more cooled off. You know, like, and even like stuff like when I replayed Rise of Lyric last year, it's like, I thought this was an absolute fucking disaster that I despised when I first played it. I hated how I got lost in the fucking hotboards and shit because it doesn't tell you anything. But replaying it, it's like, it's broken as shit, but I'll cope. You know, like, it's sort of, I suppose that also comes down to the fact there's a difference between I've just paid good money for this game and I'm annoyed that it's a bit shit versus, well, I have this game sitting here, might just replay it for the fuck of it. You know, like, there's that thing as well. And the fact that I'm emulating this because, strangely, no, I'm not going out my way to buy a fucking 32X for one game. You know?
Yeah. I mean, I suppose that is the one thing that a lot of people don't necessarily always understand when it comes to reviews and just also people's opinions of anything, is that context really, really does matter.
It does,
because, I mean, a prime example is the very recently released Balon Wonder World, directed by Yuji Naka, which has gotten a very polarised reception, shall we say, with a lot of the internet calling it a kind of like absolute disaster and a shambles, and you know, I've played it, I have beaten it, and like, you guys know me, I can criticise something to Kingdom Come if I want to.
So,
and actually, no, it's not that bad, it's not that egregiously offensive. It's got problems, don't get me wrong, but it's fun enough. And I think it is that whole context of it. If I was going in knowing that some people has had issues with the demo, and that it might not necessarily be exactly the game that I wished it could have been, but I was prepared to just say, okay, I will take you as you are and see where we go. But then other people were going in hoping it was going to be this brilliant thing from Yuji Naka, and it perhaps wasn't that, and other people probably were going in thinking, oh, the demo was shit, this is going to be shit too, and I'm going to just beat the crap out of it. Because people come at things from different angles. I mean, something that seems to have happened quite a lot with Sonic, if you look at obviously a lot of the reviews around the Unleashed era, because it was cool to take the piss and shit on Sonic games, and that is what reviewers seemed to do at that time. Even if their comments might have been perfectly valid, it didn't always necessarily come across as that because that was the context of the time. So you just got to think, if you want to sort of have a look at a title for any reason, and you're not sure about sort of people's perspectives on it, do just maybe do a bit of research into sort of scope of perspectives and a bit of the context around what was going on, and then as long as you're going in aware of what to expect, you can have a much cleaner ride in terms of your views of a title. Because you're going in knowing exactly what you're letting yourself in for, so you're not going to be surprised about any particular mechanics, and you've just got to sort of roll with it. I mean, artistically, you should always just take anything as it is and let it speak for itself, but that's not how anybody's brain works. Wish it was, would be nice, but it's not. So just be kind, and if something's not your cup of tea, it's not your cup of tea. It's not necessarily god-awful. Might not be great, but there are very few titles out there that are truly bad. So you do just have to be careful with that sometimes, I feel.
See, the thing that I get from Balon, from my experience with it, I played the demo, and the demo gives a horrible first impression.
It's not great.
Because, like, there's the fact that, like, did they ever patch the run speed in the final game or not? Because that was my biggest point of contention. It felt so fucking slow.
I feel like they might have done it a little bit. It's not hugely fast, but they definitely did fix that. They did fix, I think, a few other things, not as much as they perhaps would have liked to have done from the demo, because there just wasn't enough time. I think that was a foolish error. And obviously there was when it is kind of coming out that there was a bug in the final boss which was causing potential epileptic seizures.
Yeah.
So if you're going to play Balon Wonder World, get that day one patch. It is necessary. So that's probably half of it as well. I didn't play the demo because I was like, no, I want to go into it fresh. So I didn't have that initial negative reaction because I had the version that was slightly improved. So that will have had an effect. Once again, context.
I do have to cut you off here, Rich, because this is an extra thing that I thought I should show off, in that once you have all the Chaos Rings, you then have the opportunity to replay through the special stages in this wireframe alternate version. And it looks cool. I know wireframe was the gimmick for a little while because it was one of the sort of things that both the 32X and the extra chips they started putting in Super Nintendo carts started doing. It looks cool here, but it makes it so much harder to tell what's pit and what's not.
That's where the difficulty comes from, I suppose. And the boss in that last level was definitely flexing the 3D capabilities of the 32X. But just to tie this all up in a nice, pretty bow, talking about, like, you know, taking things in good faith and so on, guilty pleasures, etc.
Here we go.
It's going to go back to Steven Universe.
It's actually not. It's about the pricing of the 32X. Come on now, cut me some slack here. Have some good faith in Tom. It remains a guilty pleasure because, unlike a lot of stuff, there is a very, very high, like, barrier of entry here. And I'm not just talking about needing extra hardware. The 32X alone was 170 quid at launch.
Jesus Christ, that's a lot.
Yeah, fuck that.
I mean, just to put that into perspective, like, not immediately, but soon after launch, the Nintendo GameCube, which came out a generation or two after, was bloody 99 quid.
Yeah, and also consider inflation as well, the fact that that was 1995, 170 quid. Yeah, like, I'm sorry, that's, like, that's not worth it for Knuckles, Chaotix, a Doomport, and a load of other shit you will never remember.
Definitely not. So that will definitely not have helped in the game's original run in terms of the context of the reaction, because I would not be happy either if I spent that much on a console and this was my tentpole experience.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what other games I even had for the 32X. I feel like I had a racing game and maybe a Star Wars thing.
I do remember hearing about a Star Wars one, because apparently there's a part of that that doesn't emulate well. I had to do a lot of research into emulating this because, like I say, there's not as much emulation support for the 32X because, like, you know, there's quite clearly less demand for this. But yeah, there are a few graphical quirks from the 32X that don't emulate well. I was quite fortunate here emulating this, that the biggest issues that I had to work around were actually the character select screen. And given I was piecing this together rather than just doing a straight through run, I was able to just trim that out because, like,
yeah,
you know, you see Knuckles running along, you can kind of piece together that I picked Knuckles, you know. But yeah, for Techno Tower here as well, I am giving all of the characters one last hurrah here as the secondary characters here, because I did get Knuckles as the partner character in most of the runs, but now Knuckles is in the lead. Like, everyone can have a bit of a go, which will mean that I'm playing the final stages with our best friends, Bomb and Mighty.
Hell yeah.
Bomb, like, I confused Mighty with Heavy, I'm sorry for the sacrilege there.
Well, I mean, in Sonic Mania, Mighty's special skill is the ability to slam down on the ground very heavily.
Yeah, which is kind of strange he got that and not the wall jump that he had from this game, but at the same time that does work really well in Encore mode, the drop down thingy.
I suppose it also makes more sense for Mighty's character as well.
Yeah, he is a tough guy, very strong. That was a trait he had in the Fleetway comic. I don't know if they took inspiration from that, because isn't Christian Whitehead British?
I think he is actually, from what I recall.
I'll look him up.
Like, I will say I have never spent enough time looking at Sega Sonic.
He's Australian. My bad.
Yeah, that sounds about right, actually. Like, I seem to recall that now, but yeah, it's like, I'm not sure what traits Mighty would have inherited from Sega Sonic as well, because that had its own weird control scheme where it used, like, the trackball in the arcade unit.
Well, I guess we know what our next playthrough is after all.
We'll see. I've got to fuck around to make that one work as well.
That, Sonic Schoolhouse, stuff like that.
Have we done Shuffle yet?
We haven't, actually.
We haven't, and I do have a copy of that, so if I want to be the loser I was in my childhood and play Sonic Shuffle again.
Yeah, there you go, just the story mode will do.
Yeah, but the story mode involves playing through the fucking boards of not Mario Party on my own like a fucking loser.
you can speed stuff up, I suppose.
I can't get back those hours of my life though.
Life flame.
Well, look, okay, it's a very loose definition. Given if I wasn't doing that, I'd be playing a different shit Sonic game instead.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, fair enough.
Oh god.
Yes, I suppose one day we will have to have covered every single Sonic game ever. So yeah, you're just gonna have to get on it, Flame, really, aren't you?
Actually, that's it, Richie. Why don't you start recording some Sonic games for us?
Yeah, no, I'm alright on that front. Like, I recorded Wonderful 101 and Bayonetta 2, and that's gonna probably be my lot.
Yeah, speaking of Bayonetta 2, by the way, there is already a solo playthrough of it on the channel, back when I was like putting some of Richie's stuff on there, getting him more integrated with the group and whatnot, but I did promise Richie that he and I would do a playthrough together, similar to how we did the first Bayonetta, so look forward to that, probably within a month or two, actually.
Fingers crossed. So that should be fun, and then eventually, it's already recorded, but we will get to the Wonderful 101 because I won't stop harassing Tom until we do finally do that game.
Okay.
I like how this is our work structure now. We just record games we feel like and then pester Tom until it works.
But that's how you should do Let's Plays. You know, you go for what you really want to cover and whatnot.
and that's why I recorded Rivals for us.
Well, we were talking about guilty pleasure games, mate, so...
Well, I said my piece in the actual LP for that, but yeah, we do have a handful of different things lined up, but before that, we have to take Heavy to the goal again.
Oh, bloody hell, here we go. So, obviously, Heavy impedes your speed. What does Bomb do exactly?
If Bomb gets hit, he will blow up, and if his like debris from blowing up hits you, it will hurt you as well.
Looks like you're holding a very fat baby when you do that.
Oh god, yeah. So I haven't actually mentioned it yet, but the size power-ups or power-downs that you get, what they do is if you get the big one, yeah, he's stuck in... The collision in this game's not that great, but if you get the big one, then it makes you bigger and it makes you jump higher. Whereas if you get the small one, it's the opposite, it gimps your jump, which can really fuck you over in certain situations, and there have been times during my practice runs where I would have to just tap my foot until it's done. Because, like, if you want to actually have a chance of flinging yourself up to the platform above, you're not going to be able to do it with the slow power and effect.
Yeah. You can't...
And I didn't mean for him to go in this, but fuck, I love this.
This is just me whenever, like, I can't deal with something, I disassociate and go into the heavy dimension.
This is me when I'm at that stage of not quite asleep but not ready to get up yet. It's like, yeah, I'm here, just falling.
We haven't really commented on this, but Knuckles obviously is more aesthetically close to how he was in, the previous game, more pinkish than the red he would become to be known by. But he has a very weird sort of sprite in this game. I think Cybershell said it best when he said he kind of looks like some sort of dog, and you can see it especially when he's climbing.
Yeah, I can see that.
It's a little bit. There's something that doesn't quite add up there. The ones that stand out to me are for both him and Mighty when they're in either the special stages or those bonus stages, in that their jump sprite is thinner than it's meant to be, and the reason why it's thinner than it's meant to be is that they are literal Sonic recolors. They took the special stage jump sprite from Sonic CD, recolored it, but didn't account for the fact that this game has a wider aspect ratio. Well, a different aspect ratio, because like the CD games just carried over the Mega Drive aspect ratio, whereas this game on the 32X is just 4:3.
Right.
So it just didn't quite adapt well. And so when they've recolored it and then not stretched it accordingly, it looks off. It looks thinner than it's meant to be.
I guess it does. So yeah, that was all the very iconic Knuckles Chaotix stages done and dusted. So what's going to happen now? Ooh, what could possibly happen? Ooh, let's pick our last partner.
Well, the one that we didn't get to show off through Techno Tower is SBO, so I thought I'd include him here.
Yay!
And given that he was the first partner in the game, it's bookending to have him as the last one too.
And also, since he's probably the most popular character that came out of Chaotix following, the many, many years after, Mighty got ignored, and they just went with the 3 main ones.
Ooh, it's Metal Sonic! There he is!
I forgot he was in this game.
Mania fans, you recognise a thing here?
So the way this works is it is by chance. What happens is if you hit the X, that deals damage. If you hit one of the other ones, then it just fires out something that comes and hits you. I am gonna just be getting the X's here because you are missing nothing other than a bit of time wasted otherwise. It's the true final boss that I know everyone is here for.
Yeah, well, like I said, Mania took a lot from Chaotix. It had the blue rings thing, which lets you bank rings. It had, Metal Sonic and that little machine thing there, and, aww. It's okay, I'm just gonna put you in this magic ring. Come on, lad, let's go home.
That's what all the other bosses have done. They've been built around a magic ring too. But yes, here is the final boss.
Sweet Jesus Christ, the devil himself.
With the quite dissonant nature of the boss, given it's easy as fuck.
Yeah, there's that, and also, I can't help but feel they took inspiration from the leader of the Metallics in the Fleetway comic, who is also a red giant thingamabob here. It may have been the other way around, I'm not sure as to when he first appeared in the comics, but yeah, definitely an imposing final boss. Is this meant to be like Metal Sonic with the power of the rings or whatever?
Yeah, it's like an enhanced version of Metal Sonic. Metal Sonic in this game, for some reason, in the manuals, is referred to as Metal Sonic Kai, and that is just Metal Sonic's name in itself, not this particular form.
Right. Interesting.
I suppose that's kind of like how they were inconsistent with his name in general. Like in the Sonic OVA, he was Hyper Metal Sonic.
I always love that name.
There's so much about the OVA that I just really like, even though the voice acting does not hold up at all.
Sorry, yes it does. And I'm going to cut you off there because, yeah, this is the end of Knuckles Chaotix, guys. We have extras to show you, but the final boss is done. We got all the rings, so you're going to get the good ending. And I suppose I should start wrapping up here. So we'll see you next time for when we cover the extras of Knuckles Chaotix. And there should be some cool bits in there. So I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you enjoyed the main coverage of Knuckles Chaotix. See you next time, and stay cool!